Hello guys, and in today's video we're going to be talking about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is the Destiny PvP sandbox. More importantly, we're going to cover three things that I feel would significantly increase the enjoyment of many players in the Crucible. Mind you, this is only covering the surface, and if these changes would be made, it would only, in some instances, create a whole new host of problems. However, I feel that whatever problems we would have as a result of these changes would be infinitely better than the experience we have with the current Crucible sandbox, that some people are calling the worst Destiny 2 sandbox in the history of the franchise, and that I personally think is as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into the first thing I think they could change. The first and most important things in terms of the PvP sandbox is Airborne Effectiveness, in my opinion. I would just like to start off this discussion saying the AE system, in my opinion, is one of the worst overall changes I've seen Bungie make for the game in a long time. I mainly say that because the system is completely, for lack of a better term, half-baked. And honestly, it's something they shouldn't have introduced, I think, till Season 19. The reason I say that is because I believe we were supposed to be getting more ways to build an Airborne Effectiveness in Season 19, and my assumption is that we will actually have real meaningful ways to build an Airborne Effectiveness, although that is completely unguaranteed at this point to my knowledge. Now, to touch on how exactly I think they should go about fixing this issue, I would like to say the most realistic option I see Bungie taking is making AE a whole lot easier to build into, which honestly I wouldn't entirely mind depending on how they go about it. I also could see them completely abandoning the system and giving us all perfect AE on all weapons, which I honestly would prefer, because I think this would create the biggest skill gap in the game, which I think would honestly be best for the overall health of the game. I also think this would be a possibility because in the past they have abandoned systems that people thought ruined the game and people mounted against in terms of disliking it, like sunsetting. But I'm not sure if there's enough dislike for Bungie to take that approach with the AE system, or if Bungie is even willing to take that approach with the AE system, because I reckon they have invested a lot of time and a lot of money into creating this system, and the last thing they want to do is just ditch it. Whereas the sunsetting system probably didn't have nearly as much time in the oven. Ultimately, I love this game and only want what I think is going to be best for it flourish and reach its maximum potential. And at the same time, with touching on what I said about air accuracy and perfect inner accuracy being the best option for the game, I'm sure Bungie would agree, or disagree rather, given they are on their ongoing agenda of accessibility and they actually have knowledge of what a majority of the community actually wants. And I'm purely speaking from my perspective and what I think I would enjoy and what I think other people would enjoy. So anyway, moving on to part 2, which is going to be movement. And I titled it Movement because there's a couple of ways that they've nerfed movement so far, and not really one in particular, and I worry that they will nerf it in other ways in the future. Now, for movement, this is more of a cautionary tale, as the only nerf to movement that we received across the board is for the slide, if we're talking about base character movement and instead of things like Icarus Dash or stuff like that. And what that is, you receive a penalty to your accuracy when sliding, if, you know, obviously, once again, if we're excluding the air accuracy changes in Icarus Dash and all that. However, I generally worry that in the future we'll receive more nerfs to movement. For example, a sprint cooldown or accuracy nerf after sprinting, or perhaps like ADS speed decrease, something generally along the lines of that, or generally along the lines of that, rather, sorry. Ultimately, I think the gunplay and movement are two of Destiny's strongest selling points, and I feel like them nerfing how weapons feel and function and how movement works in the game is a big part of the reason that we see the PvP meta and sandbox in the shape it's in right now. It very much favors passive play and using abilities, which is, in my opinion, a very far cry from their self-acclaimed renewed focus on gunplay in the Crucible sandbox. For the third part, we're going to be touching on the special linear fusions, Lorentz Shriver and Arbalest. They've both been problem children for a long time now, and recently Bungie decided to nerf Sniper Flinch, leaving linears unnerfed, which has made them significantly better than snipers in almost every respect, and has put them at the top of the meta for a lot of high-end PvP players. They plan to be nerfing the flinch in Season 19, which, as I'm recording this, is about a month and a half away. Sadly, anybody that knows their stuff in Crucible knows that that's not going to be enough, and they're still going to be just as good. The reasoning behind that is historically, the flinch changes Bungie has made to weapons like snipers or linear fusions in the Crucible has done absolutely nothing to alleviate their looming problems, which is why we are here in the first place, recording this video and talking about this. So, now for fixes to the problem, like the Larry driver, I've seen several suggestions. Some I agree with and some I don't. I think the ones I agree with the most are switching Lorentz and Arbalest to the heavy weapon slot and buffing them significantly. For Lorentz, you could revert all of the nerfs it has ever received, and it would be extremely strong in PvE and PvP respectively, in my opinion. And then for RB, I would probably just increase its damage output slightly, as I think most PvE players can agree it's already super strong and honestly, like, is almost kind of a heavy weapon in its own respect. The other changes I've seen floating around SC2 PvE Twitter is making both RB and Lorentz 700 charge time and increasing the flinch, which also could be enough, but I personally highly doubt it. Ultimately, I just feel the linear fusion should stay as heavy weapons, and that's my opinion at the end of the day, and everyone's entitled to their own opinions on all the things we've discussed and spoken about so far. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of my ideas and suggestions, and whether or not you agree with them or disagree. I figure there's going to be a good amount of agreeing, but also potentially some disagreeing, maybe some hostile disagreeing, like saying, fuck you, Diffizzle, you fucking moron, I fucking hate you. You're such a fucking hardcore elitist. I typically don't really read my comments too heavily, and honestly, that is mostly for my mental health, but for this video, I'm going to be in the comments trying to interact and respond to you guys as much as I can. Also, if you're interested in keeping up to date with stuff that is happening with me, please make sure to go check out my Twitter, which is just @2Diffizzle, and if you would like to keep or like more content from me, I typically stream every day over on Twitch @Diffizzle. And with all of that being said, I will see you guys in the next YouTube video. Peace out. And if you want to come say hi to me, or honestly, if you're looking to just ask me some questions even unrelated to this video, just make sure to comment in the comments below this video, and I'll be responding in there as much as I can. So anyway, I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.